I always thought we were a nation of savers, putting away money for a rainy day, saving up for the things we want, and trying to get some interest in return. After all, that's what we're taught from an early age. Certainly, our parents and their parents before them taught this way. Things like buy now, pay later and those pesky credit cards weren't around as much as they are now to try and tempt us into spending our hard-earned cash. It turns out though that it's not as simple as this. We do save money as a nation, but it's really not helping us as much as we think. That money squirreled away might actually be causing us more harm than good. Don't just take my word for it though, let's look at some of this data together because I'm worried that our cash really is keeping us poor. Here are the facts, so let's look at some of the key figures from the Office of National Statistics whose job it is to keep track of all this data. Now, if we look back to the early 1960s around to the early 1980s, we can see that household savings rates trended upwards. Now, this is the percentage of money that's left over after all of the bills are covered. Now, we can see here that it peaked around the 10 to 15% mark before it started to move sideways, before slowly settling down to around the 5 to 10% mark. Of course, until the events of 2020 happened, and then lots of people suddenly had less things to spend their money on. Any reason why the savings rates changed so much over time? Well, there's lots of factors at play here, but one of the interesting points to note is the interest rate will play an important role. If you draw a line on this graph showing that, we'll see that there is some correlation between higher interest rates and better saving. Now, certainly if you're able to get around 20% interest on your money in a savings account, I think you'll be trying to do that rather than put your money into anything else. That brings us on to our next point then. If people are saving their money, what are they doing with it? And I think this is one of where the key problems lies. Just take a look at this data from HM Revenue and Customs, which shows all of the different types of individual savings accounts being used over the past 20 years. Now, you might already have one of these types of accounts or all of them, but you've got your cash ISA, you've got your stocks and shares ISA, lifetime ISA, and an innovative finance ISA too. Without going into too much detail, these accounts are ones that offer you tax advantages to help you grow your money, but let's not get too much into the nitty-gritty right now. Just look at the trends on this graph. You'll see that from the year 2000 up until around 2009, the number of these accounts grew as people put more of their savings in. But then from 2009 onwards, we've seen a bit of a decline in the number of accounts that have actually been opened. So that's problem number one. If you don't make your money grow, it's going to lose value over time, especially when you consider the effects of inflation, which at the moment is running really high in the UK and the rest of the world. The biggest issue though is staring us right in the face. You see the different colours in the bars which show the different types of ISA accounts open? The largest number of accounts clearly are in this dark green colour, which is actually the cash ISA. This is the account where you deposit your money with an accredited provider and you'll get a guaranteed rate of interest in return, which can change depending on whether you lock your money up for a set period of time like 1 or maybe 3 years. There are loads of cash ISAs around in the market and you can easily shop around, but one thing you'll notice is that the returns are just awful. Even if we look here at Martin Lewis's former company, Money Saving Expert, the best rates for a 1-year term are 0.98%. That means if we managed to put away £1,000 for the year and didn't touch it at all, we'd get £9.80 in return. Seriously, we'd have a whopping £1,009.80. And sure, it might be tax-free, but in real terms, we're losing money. Now, without getting into too much detail about inflation, remember that we're currently looking at levels around 5% here in the UK, which means that on average, something that used to cost around £100 now costs £105. But you would have seen some things maybe been inflated a lot more, meaning that they've risen in cost even faster than that. I mean, just think about how much fuel is costing at the pumps, or even your energy bills. Not to mention the price of second-hand cars if you've been looking recently. Going back to our £1,000 cash example, if inflation is 5% and we only made 1% from our cash savings ISA, that means we're going to be down 4% in real terms. A loss on our money, and that's what I fear that most people are experiencing right now in the current climate. But what's the alternative? Well, if we go back to the graph, let's check out the light blue bars this time. And this is the amount of people that have opened a stocks and shares ISA. It's not really changed much. In fact, it's gone down from around 3 million accounts to 2.4 million accounts in a decade. So if the UK population is 68 million people, and we take out everyone below the age of 18, so that's around 21% of people, we get left with 54 million adults. So just 2.4 million stocks and shares ISA accounts divided between 54 million adults is 4.4%. That's just 1 in 20 adults in the UK using a stocks and shares ISA. But why does it matter? Well, if we don't own assets, those things that actually rise and grow in value over time, then our money will lose power. We will actually lose money. Our cash that we hold in wallets and bank accounts slowly gets eaten away and we'll end up in a very bad position, especially when we get older or even when we want to think about stopping work. The data looks to me to show that lots of people want to save and do their best to put money away. But my fear is that by using a cash savings account rather than trying to invest money into the stock market, that people are potentially hurting themselves without really knowing about it. I mean, just think about this. In the last 5 years or so, the stock market's returned around 50%. If we use a global index fund to measure things and just have a little look here, that means that if we put in £1,000 lump sum, we'd now be worth around £1,500. Now, yes, sure, there's always risks involved in investing, and returns are not guaranteed at all. But in the long run over time, your chances are significantly better as the market grows. If we kept that same money in a cash ISA, we kept getting that 1% per year, we'd only have £1,051. That's a huge 35% difference and we would have got back in just a short period of time. So what's the solution to this problem then? Just stop saving in cash and go all in on the stock market? Well, I don't think that's all of the issue here. Saving's great and the ability to put money away and spend actually less than you earn is great and something you need to practice and puts you in a really strong position moving forward. The issue is what you're saving and why you're saving. Now, let's say you're using cash savings because you want to save for a wedding or a house deposit over the next year or so, or even a summer getaway. Short-term cash savings are excellent for these things because there's no alternative and you need the money now. The real question comes in the long term. If you're saving money away for your long-term future, let's say 5 years or more in the future, then you really need to get that cash into assets. We've got to beat inflation and we've got to use time to our advantage, as well as our investor's best friend, compound interest. There's many kinds of assets you can use and it's really up to you. Everything from property, your own home, shares in companies, even commodities or things like gold and silver. And if you're really adventurous, then something like Bitcoin in the cryptocurrency space could be another asset class too. But just be careful on that one, certainly don't put all of your eggs in one basket. Because nobody knows the future, we can't be certain which assets will go up in value more than others. But we do know for certain that our cash will lose value, at least in line with inflation. Now that's for certain. Making sure we invest in assets over a long period of time with a diverse portfolio, meaning that we own lots of different kinds of assets, is one of the only proven ways when we look back through history that gives us a great chance of success. Now, I personally do this by using low-cost, broad market index funds to be the core of my investing portfolio. And I also then own some individual stocks, as well as my own home as well, and then cryptocurrency too. I'll be making sure that I contribute to these as much as possible over time to ensure that I can build as much wealth to allow me to gain what you might call financial freedom, the ability to then choose what you want to do once your investments can provide for you all of your living expenses. I try to be as transparent as I can on this channel, so if you do want to look over any of my other videos, I've made loads on investing for beginners if you want to go into any more details, but feel free to check those out after this one. Is there anything else that we can do to help ourselves? Now, I think a lot of this comes back down to education and how we can all help each other understand some of the core concepts of investing, which none of us learned at school, and most of us also didn't learn from our parents. I can say with certainty that neither of my parents could tell you what an index fund is, unless they've been paying really good attention to my videos recently. Investing in the stock market is still very much seen as being risky and uncertain, and for the most part this can be true, but there are many ways to tilt the odds in your favour, and now at this point in time it's never been easier to improve your odds of success. The average person doesn't need to be a genius stock picker or some kind of guru. In fact, they don't even have to understand anything about profits or revenues. They just need to be able to do some basic things, which a lot of the finance industry tries to make really complicated, so they can get their hands on your hard-earned cash. I saw an article from iNews saying that in their survey, they found that 71% of 18 to 34-year-olds think that traditional investing is risky, even though the same people are more likely to have bought cryptocurrency than anything on the stock market. And while there's nothing wrong with that and people can make their own choices, not enough people have been educated about investing in the stock market if they're choosing crypto first or think that investing itself is risky. At the end of the day, a lot of this is on your shoulders, unfortunately. Nobody can do this for you or tell you what to do. And I'm personally not a fan of saving every single penny and eating beans on toast. Like when I'm 60 years old, I can all of a sudden enjoy myself. We all know that life doesn't work like that. And things happen when we need to spend money and eat into our cash savings, and that's absolutely fine. Imagine if we all saved all of our spare money to the extreme where we never left the house, only ate the same thing every day and never spent money on experiences. life would be awful. But on the same point, there's nothing wrong with sacrificing something today to help you grow tomorrow, and that's really all investing is. You're taking a part of your money today and putting it away to work for you over many, many years. And by doing this consistently, you can end up with a small fortune that could genuinely give you more options than most people. Even a single pound, given enough time, could turn into £1 million. Seriously, I'm not kidding, but it does take time, just humour me on this one. At a 10% rate of interest, you can actually turn £1 into £1 million in 139 years. Something for your great-grandkids, maybe? The funny thing is, most people could do this, but they probably won't. We're humans after all, we want fast returns and easy money. I'm always guilty of this too, and it's really easy to lose faith, especially when things are turning red around you or the stock market isn't doing so well. As I said before, it's not about being smart or being a stock market guru. It's just about being consistent over a long period of time. If you've got less than 139 years to invest, so like most people, then you might have to put in a bit more than £1, but you get the idea. I'll leave you with some of the most timeless advice that I don't think will ever age. Now, I see it everywhere in most of my own reading and research. Spend less than you make and invest the rest. Rinse and repeat, and that's the secret to wealth. Do me a favour and drop me a like if you've enjoyed the video, and thank you so much for making it this far. Go spread the message to as many people as possible, because I'm not going to stop until every school in the country either teaches the basics of investing or every adult has a stocks and shares ISA set up. I'll see you in the next video, but until then, as always, happy investing.